What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video.
I rep the West to the death, but my life is better. I've shed blood, shed tears, man, I stormed bad weather. I caught an L at 19, that's a cold-ass letter. But now I'm back in the world and trying to make it better forever. They counted me out at a young age, but now I'm living proof. I'm in this booth, I'm spitting truth, you see me on the tube. The Dub Show, homies bounce and roll. The Dub Show.
Today I was going through the old videos. A lot of you guys want me to redo the videos that I did in the shop, and I'm gonna get to that. But while I was scrolling through my old videos, I said, you know what? Let me pay attention to which videos you guys really seem to be into and interact with the most, and I'll give you one of those today. And not surprisingly to me, you see the thumbnail and the title. It's Pelican Bay. A lot of people are always curious about Pelican Bay. Now, when I make videos, I have a general idea of what I want to talk about. I don't really ever write anything down unless it's more of like when I do the Sin City Manny type stuff, or I'm doing voiceover stuff. Then sometimes I'll write that stuff down. But I like to freestyle. And I want to give you guys a better understanding of what Pelican Bay was. And then I'm going to give you what I think it is now. Okay. Keep in mind that when I talk about stuff like this, I'm not speaking for anyone, but I'm speaking from my experience and my reflections basically are from a Southern perspective. I don't know that what I speak about, I highly doubt it's the same for a black convict or a Northern California convict or a bulldog. You know, everybody has their own experiences, right? Their own rules. Now, for the Southerners, when Pelican Bay was Pelican Bay and no one had been let out of the shoe like they are now, Pelican Bay was, to an extent, a source of contention. And the reason why I say that is because back then, unless you had met legends on the streets or in the county jail, in the California Department of Corrections, pretty much the only way that you were going to meet, and if you're lucky, get educated by one of them or some of them, was by putting in work. It wasn't like now they're on the main lines and you can just land on a yard and you might wind up their neighbor and they take a liking to you after getting to know you. You know what I mean? It was completely different. You had to put in work. You had to go sit in that dungeon with them, and they watched how you were affected by the environment. Pelican Bay was, the shoe back then was extremely quiet. And this is before they did the whole short corridor thing in around 2006. That changed everything. And the shoe became different. But prior to that, it was the quietest place you would ever be. You could literally hear every single thing. Any noise made, you're going to hear it. It was the most respectful place you were going to do time. But it was a place that broke men. Psychologically, people would go insane in that place. People would take their own lives in that place. It was a place where people's lives, their destinies behind the wall were determined from in those cells. Men that were hundreds of miles away in other prisons, their destiny was determined in that shoe. What was going to happen to them, and they may not have ever known. Something they did that they didn't realize they weren't supposed to do. Something they said, something they spoke on. There were men in the shoe. Deciding your fate and really not giving a damn what happened, who you were. Whatever they decided was what it was going to be. Now, back to the source of contention. Dudes would come out of Pelican Bay shoe that weren't validated. They would go and do their shoe term, year, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it was. Then they would come out to the yard. Most of us, when we came out, we had bad eyesight. Whole time does that. Shoe time does that. And we had glasses that everyone knew. If you had those glasses, you came out of the shoe. Also, the color of your skin was, because there's no windows in the shoe. There's no sunlight. There's on the yard, there's a tiny, tiny little spot sometimes where there's sun. It rains a lot up there, right? And so your skin got a horrible, horrible color. Almost like a greenish, yellowish pale. It was really ugly. And so when you hit a yard, you had that pale skin and you had those glasses, everybody knew. Now, this fool came from the Bay. Nobody would know when a person came down from the Bay what his agenda is. Does he have an agenda? Does he have ulterior motives? Was he sent to do something? We'll find out. And there were a lot of guys that had never been to Pelican Bay shoe who, I can't think of any other word other than they were jealous. They would hate. This vato, man. This fool came down from the Bay. He thinks he's hard. How do you know that? How do you know that? And it would usually create, if somebody was dumb enough to expose that feeling, it would create some serious repercussions, because 9 out of 10 times the guys coming down from the Bay were connected. And while they were in the Bay, they were face to face with the men that they were representing. See, sometimes dudes will never meet somebody, but somebody will say, "Hey, Holmes, I like you. I'm gonna school you. I'm gonna run you down. I'm gonna hip you to the game." And that's a whole nother video in itself. But then he may put you in the game. An example of someone that I did that with was Wicked from Blythe Street, the man that was, his life was taken about a year ago. I did that for him. Met him, took a liking to him, and then got him into contact and got him, and it went where it went with it, right? But whenever people think of Pelican Bay, I think it's the shoe they think about. A&B facility, it was another shoe kickout yard like the other shoe kickout yards in the state. The 180 design prisons are yards that are designated for if you commit a serious rule violation, you're going to go sit in that dungeon for a couple years, few years, whatever, however amount of years. And then you get kicked out to one of the, I think it was 5 shoe kickout yards, and they're all going to be very serious. The difference between Pelican Bay 180 yards and others were, you could be on A yard or you could be on B yard and you go get an x-ray or you go down for physical therapy or something. There's the legends. You'll run into them. They're going to ask you, "Hey, what yard you on, Holmes?" "Oh, I'm over here." "Hey, so-and-so's over there?" "Yeah." "Okay." And then whatever messages get passed, they get passed and fulfilled if something needs to be fulfilled. That was different. Pelican Bay shoe now. Pelican Bay shoe no longer exists. It's just C facility and D facility now. And it houses level 1 guys. Guys that are going home real soon. The pictures that I've seen of C&D facility now, they're mind-blowing. For me, for someone who did close to a decade in there. It's there's actually tables now. There was no day room. There's just where the cells are, 4 on the bottom, 4 on the top. That's it. And there was the walkway, right? Now there's a table there. There's a TV on the wall. If you see pictures, I had some before. If I have them, I'm gonna post them. But you'll see people smiling. I'm sure you hear laughter. I've seen in the pictures these guys in the where the day room is now. I guess they call it the day room, and the cell doors are wide open, and the doors to the pod are wide open. These are things you would have never saw. You would hear laughter from time to time. You would hear people clowning, but you weren't gonna have a belly laugh because it's too loud. Doing that is too loud. You'll share some chuckles. But when I see those pictures of those guys in the on the table with a TV there and smiling, I always ask myself, what does the CDC think when they see this? Pelican Bay was the most expensive prison. The shoe was the most expensive thing that they ever created. And it was the jewel of the CDC. I remember them always bragging that there would never be a PC yard in Pelican Bay. And the cops who worked there were proud, like, I work in the shoe. I'm around the heart. It was a trip. Now the CDC looks at those pictures and they see those inmates that they have housed there now. And I bet you they're embarrassed. Isn't that a trip? You're getting paid the same amount of money to do the same damn job. But you're embarrassed because you're housing guys that are going to go back home soon. Guys that aren't going to take anyone else's life. Guys that aren't going to try to take your life. Your job is safe, and yet you're embarrassed. I know, in my heart, I have this feeling, and I don't think I'm wrong. The politicians in Sacramento, the ones that are running the CDC, they're trying to figure out a way to put everybody back. I mentioned before in a video that they're validating dudes now and putting them right back in the same cell. In my day, you got validated, you were going to the dungeon. That was it. No more sunshine for you. No more Zuzus and Wham Whams. No more sodas and ice creams. No contact visits. No phone calls. You're going to go up there. Hopefully you don't go insane. You're going to politic. You're going to do all the things that were done in the shoe. Nowadays, they validate guys. They put them right back in the same cell. And when the CDC does what I know they're trying to do, they're letting all this violence be publicized. I don't think the assaults, the level of assaults, I don't think has gotten higher. The reporting has gotten higher. And when the CDC finally does what they're going to do, they're going to convince a judge to slam everybody down. Guess what? All you guys that got validated because of who you lived with, who you took pictures with, because your family members came to visit in the same car with somebody else's family, you're going to get slammed down. Those tables are going to get ripped out of Pelican Bay. Those TVs are going to get ripped down. And it's going to be a place of complete fucking misery like it used to be. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.